Hey guys, this is Greg Beast here, back in the FOA Beast Lab. The next week's head review is the NAS 2. The reason we did the NAS 2 is because it's the most prevalent out there on the market right now. The original NAS, obviously they don't make anymore. The no NAS isn't that popular. The NAS 2 seems to be the most popular of the variations. So based on what you guys were saying, that's what I reviewed. So let's start with the basics of the shape of this head. So this is 1 week's worth of training. It gets a nice kink right here. This head, as most guys can tell, is very long. So the throat's pretty long. If you're a guy who likes to keep your hand out of the action, this is a great head to get spacing. The length of it, as it gets a little bit more pinched and worked in, obviously the plastic's going to stretch a little bit, so the height of it's going to get kind of crazy. The strength of this head is from here down. The kinks right here, the flex points, this thing's a tank around the throat. So when you're in a 50-50 battle, this thing isn't going to wiggle anywhere. The whole head will move. The whole head will rock, but it won't go anywhere right here and down. So that's pretty cool. It's a very sturdy head. Even on where it cracks, you can play with this head after it cracks for a pretty long time. We've got guys at our FOA draw days that have cracks right here, and it doesn't really affect anything for them. The scoop is fantastic on this head. This is an easy scoop. This is money for a guy who plays offense as well as faces off. I think if I were a college face-off guy right now, because when I was at Penn State, I also played man up, this would probably be the head I would have used. It maintains its shape. It'll start to keyhole a little bit here. So you might have to softball it or hockey puck it a little bit. But it maintains its shape pretty well, and I think it's a very good head from an offensive standpoint. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone if you're an offensive-minded face-off guy. Also, if you're a guy who has kind of not elite-level technique or hand speed on the clamp, if you're a guy who likes to rake to make up for that, then this is a decent head. It's pretty long, so it gives you that little ability. So if you're a guy who can't really get around the wall as fast as an elite-level guy, and you go against an elite level guy, you can probably go for that rake, and there's a good chance you might get a piece of it because it's such a long head. So that's something to look out for. If you're a guy who uses a NAS right now, that's something you might want to try. When I do a rake, I like to do it standing so that you can come right here, get the piece of the ball, and go right into your scoop. So that's a good option for guys that don't have an elite level plan. So moving forward to training with this head for the week, what I noticed when it comes to technique stuff, this bends almost identical to a warrior blade. The flex points are similar. The only difference is it has a kink right here, whereas a blade will actually just crack and stretch right here. So this is a little bit more durable, but from a flex standpoint, I was at home with this thing. Right there, bends on an oblique. Okay, when you go into your throw hop and pull the ball out, I was right at home with this. So this was an easy head to get used to for me. What I noticed was the only downfall of this head is because they tried to sell us on this whole hollow head, so it was lighter or injected air or whatever they came up with. They had to make the sidewalls thicker so that they could have a channel inside. So it didn't make much sense to me because now you just have a thicker sidewall, which is an issue because when you go against a duel or you go against a CEO especially, the CEO has very thin sidewall structure. So take a look at this. The thin walls on the side here will slide right underneath this head because it's got thicker sidewalls. So it's kind of an issue because the whole thing kind of tapers back and forth and you got a thick head. So when you come in here, unless you get a good punch into the ball and you rotate really quickly around, a CEO will be able to slide underneath that top rail if their opponent has a good hand punch with the left hand. So that's what I noticed when taking live reps, but it was great for quick rakes. It's great on 50-50 lockups, and it doesn't mess with your mechanics. You have perfect FOA mechanics with this. When you're lining up, you can swing that left hand around the ball, and it brings you right into where you want to go. You can go into a defensive exit as well. You can do anything, and the ball will stick right in the throat. So it's a really good head as far as flex points are concerned. It's got a great scoop. It has a long throat, so if you're a guy who uses a duel to try and make up for hand speed, this probably isn't the head for you because you're going to feel like you're a mile away from the ball. If you're a guy who lacks a little bit on mechanics from a clamp standpoint, and you want to go with more rakes to try and beat elite level guys, this is a head that's going to help you out. Okay, you're going to be able to get people once in a while with a little bit of a rake move. So that's pretty much what I've got from a review standpoint. When you string this head, because it does keyhole, you're going to want to make sure that you're making these sidewall wraps real thin and easy. If you go with big knots and tight knots, you're going to have an issue because the ball's going to get stuck. We have a lot of guys who get their stick strong. I think Lacrosse Unlimited strings them up, and they string everybody's stick the same with these super tight sidewall knots, and it's not elite level face-off type knots, because what happens is once the head pitches a little bit, the ball gets stuck, right? And you're jamming your softball in there. So when you guys get your stick strong, I would recommend you learn how to do it yourself, just so you can go basically from this knot, wrap, so the pocket sways, and then you can put your knots down here so the whole pocket doesn't move vertically. And I've said it before, you're going to want to keep this thin sidewall here. These sidewall strings should be thin, because if you keep them thick, ball's going to get stuck real easy, and it's going to warp, and it's going to be really frustrating for you. So this is another head that bends that way. But I like the Nas. If I was a face-off guy who played offense in college right now, this would probably be the head of choice for me. This was a great pick. So next week will be the final head review. It's going to be a mystery. I'm not going to tell you what it is, because I don't know yet. And we'll just see how it goes. But it will come out either next Sunday or next Monday for the final week of our head reviews.